Welcome guys to another episode and this Sunday evening to end of a week. I think it's an interesting road ahead what we have with Bitcoin. It's starting to move up right now. But before I get started, Smokey, Smile, how are you guys doing?
How's it going?
Yeah, Tony, what's up?
How's it going, Smiles?
Good.
We had a kind of chat now and you guys seemed quite positive and bullish around the Bitcoin, and obviously I was on the other side. So before we dive into it, I think let's quickly have a look at some news that's coming in. I think the interesting news that we kind of want to show is, Samsung not only opening up a store in the metaverse, but as well on the Cardano system, where they've actually launched a deal now to help with the Madagascar, where they're actually planting trees, and they're going to track all of this movement on the blockchain system using Cardano. So it's very interesting to see some of these big retail companies not fully investing, but at least testing the waters, testing smaller divisions on how they can use the technology for other bigger projects. So I think it's a big bang, considering Bitcoin has been down. I think this has been a big start to the 2022 season for not only Cardano but a few coins. So guys, Bitcoin's down, but even though the news is looking very exciting, so let's go through the charts and just have a look at what's going on there.
100%. Look, it's been an interesting couple of days since we spoke on Friday. I just want to squeeze these charts a little bit so we can see a little bit better. But it's been an interesting 2 days looking at the market and how it's been playing out, sort of consolidating a little bit to a certain extent, but also forming this sort of shift in market structure that we are seeing potentially here. Now, if we look at the weekly time frame and we then just zoom out a little bit so we can see a little bit better, so you guys can see what we are talking about. Again, we can see that this bullish structure is still in play and we haven't broken below this previous sort of major higher low formation. So price is still holding. Now, if we switch down to the 4 hour, which is 2 time frames lower, and we zoom out again, we'll see that the 2 time frames are actually aligning. This being obviously the biggest swing here. If I can mark it, we can see this is the biggest swing that we saw on the weekly, and this is the biggest structure. Now we can see that price is still holding within this sort of 40k region. Now this is why I say that we need to be mindful of this, that this could still turn out to be like a good potential move to the upside, but again, we have not seen any true sort of shift in momentum if we look at the time frames from a daily and a 4 hour perspective. So we still need to see a bit of intent from the market before we ultimately turn bullish. So we would need to sort of see this formation before we see a continuation, which we haven't quite seen. Now, we've mapped out these key levels for you guys, and what we've done with the report this week as well is we've changed it up a little bit to keep it simple. We've had some inquiries and some guys asking us, is the market now going to lower pricing or is it going to continue up now? So what we've done is in the report, you'll see we've now removed all the key levels for you guys to keep it simple. The key levels are still in the report, but it's on the sort of bullish and bearish scenario page. But if you look at the sort of overview, the Bitcoin flow chart, and all the other charts that we've got for you guys for the various projects that you are watching, you will see only 2 prices. Now, this is to keep it simple for you guys because that is our objective. We want to stay objective in the market and we want to be as clear as possible with giving you the best information so that you can take clear action on these. Now, looking at Bitcoin as a prime example in the report, you'll see 2 levels. Now this level I've combined $43,000 to the $43,500 level. Now this is the key level for me to show us intent for price to break out and then potentially close above this level before seeing a continuation. And then typically the bearish scenario would be that should we see price break down and fail to break above this level tonight, going into the early hours of tomorrow morning, we could then see a pushback. Now remember what we've said in previous weeks. The only time we are concerned about the market continuing further down is if we see on the daily time frame, we need to see a clear candle body close below the $40,000 level. So what does that mean? I'm going to explain it again so that you guys can understand it. If this is a candle body, we need to see at least 50% of this candle body close below. So this 50% needs to be below the low of the previous body. But in this case, we are targeting the $40,000 level as a key psychological level, and we want to see 50% of the candle close below the $40,000 level. This will show us intent that the market is going to go further down, and this is the case. We want to potentially look at protecting our capital and exiting and waiting for lower prices to that, so that we can obviously buy in. Now those lower levels are in the report, so if you guys are interested in knowing what those key levels are, you can get in contact with the Moonacade, the tonoit team, and they will get you in the right direction to get hold of these reports where we discuss the finer detail of where the market is going when price breaks down. So I just wanted to point that out for the viewers so that we can have clarity on that.
So I think if we can have a chat around the fundamentals quickly. I think we spoke about it earlier today. You know, I'm still, from my perspective, looking at a lot of the fundamentals. I'm very concerned to see that, you know, there's a lot of hype in the market where people are expecting Bitcoin to go up, money to go in, but there's still a concern that there's too many should I say shitcoin projects or very bad projects, and the money's in the wrong places right now. So I'm on my side, I'm feeling that Bitcoin should be going down right now to kind of get rid of these projects that are not, you know, contributing towards the ecosystem, so there's enough money in the right place so that we can go to the 100k level. So, you know, that's personally how I feel that things should be going right now, regardless of what the, you know, charts are saying. Regulation on the one hand could also change that. What is your feeling?
Well, definitely regulation does play a role. We've looked at the CPI, I think we've mentioned it in Friday's report as well, not the report, but the webinar, saying that, you know, consumers are overall positive, like in the States. A lot of, you know, companies and workforces are going to have full occupancy going into January. So that's definitely, you know, increasing, you know, sort of morality around, you know, the general consumer. We can see that the consumer spend is up based on the consumer pricing index and where the market is sort of moving and spending money type of scenario as a holistic view. So there is definitely a positive spin, but there's also, like you've mentioned, with the regulations and stuff, there is, you know, some downside to that, where people are feeling a bit negative about, you know, crypto being regulated. So there is ups and downs to that, but that is obviously a mix, and that's open to someone's opinion. So that's why I personally look at the charts. But talking about institutional, you know, buying and where this is going, are we getting, you know, fooled again to play into institution hands? I think that's a topic we've been debating, you know, for the last couple of hours, as well as over, you know, the December period and stuff. And I think that's quite relevant to tonight, because, you know, we can see all these institutions buying, MicroStrategies, you name them, they are buying, but yet the market is going down. Now, we also know that institutions are only really returning back from holiday sort of this coming week of the 10th to 17th of December, and you could also see in various countries a lot of people returning back to work around about this time period, whether, you know, it's kids going back to school or whatever the case. And, you know, like construction companies, typically from the 10th, 15th, they start operating again. So we will definitely see a bit more volume in the market, as we can see that the volume's been quite low. But I do believe, like from an institutional level, you know, institutions are buying when we are selling, and they are selling when we are buying. So the question is, are we playing into their hands? Now, looking at the current market structure and looking how the weekly and the 4-hour is lining up, I do believe that this could potentially be a potential move to the upside, where you see that typical meme on the social feeds where the guy's like on the phone and he says, they've just sold, let's buy, pump the market up a bit. And we could definitely see that, but we haven't seen intent yet, so I'm not quite bullish yet, even though the timelines or the time frames are aligning for a potential bullish move. We still need to see that intent for a push further up. So that would be my take on it. Smiley, what are you saying about the market, and what is your feeling? Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Also, what's the guys in the chat saying? Are you guys bullish or are you guys bearish? Let us know, type a 777 and let us know, give us comments so that we can see where you guys are at and what you guys have to say. Smile, over to you. What do you have to say?
All right, thanks, Smokey, for that. Actually, in my chat right now, I'm thinking, checking from the 4-hour time frame perspective. To me right now, I think what Bitcoin is doing is just, to me, typically, Bitcoin is just in a range of 42,307 to 40,498. You said something then, you said something that before we can confirm that we are going to go for more lower prices, then we need to see a very, very, let me say, a full candle close below $40,000, right? Or precisely, let's say 40,498, because that is the last week. That is where we have our last price. So apparently, to me, we are still in a range. Yeah, price is still consolidating a range, because I will really want price to break the 42,307 range with a full candle, not with a wick this time around, with a full body close above 42,307. That is when I can say, or I'm going to believe that, okay, fine, Bitcoin is still having this potential of going for more higher prices for this week. So right now, I won't predict. I will just be reacting to what what price is currently doing at the moment.
I think that's a good approach. Rather be reactive instead of trying to be predictive. Our job as analysts and as traders is not to try and predict where the market's going next. There is certain key things that we do watch that we can anticipate a potential move, but the key thing is to see what is the market telling us, instead of us being opinionated about it. See where these levels are, where these zones are, and if price reacts to that zone, whatever that zone may be, you can then clearly make a call, because you can then see once price is closed and formed that there's actually some relevance or thinking behind it to show you what the market psychology is. And I think that's quite important.
And I think you can also add to that over time we've also seen that crypto and the technology and any coin, the technology is here to stay. So whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Ethereum, accumulating is the best thing that you can do right now. So whether Bitcoin is going to go to 28,000 or whether it's going to go to 100,000, it's about accumulation and getting into the coins that you feel is going to best suit kind of your lifestyle. So it's not about selling and trading every single time. As long as you're accumulating, you are winning.
No, I definitely think from a long-term perspective that makes sense. There is, however, a lot of opportunities. Like we had an amazing trade yesterday, going into today. Smile called it there with GXS. So what we had is this little trade here. So we had done a setup. We weren't quite sure to trade the market yet, because we didn't feel like it was right to place any longs in the market. But we've seen some projects, and we've been monitoring a couple of projects. Now this particular trade that we took yesterday on the 10K account was this trade here, where we had an order in at $2.1. Now price literally came down, missed that entry with 0.0183%. Dollar, sorry, not percent, dollar. So what had happened is yesterday afternoon, we then discussed and I said, like, listen, Smiles, we need to look for a re-entry. And we entered on this week here at $2.15. exact. This was our entry. So we missed the first entry, which happens from time to time, but we knew that this was quite a key level for this trade, and this trade played out. Now, remember what we spoke about in terms of risk management. We do not want to risk more than 1%. So if we look at our entry that we took, and you do not risk more than 1%, which is here, and this should be right. Oh, can't get that freaking. Can't get that 1% now. But anyway, so we got that right. Pull this across. Price came quite close to our order, but look at this nice reaction that we had here. Now, just to show you guys, now we got out here at about, I think, 2.7, if I'm not mistaken. But this was just a beautiful trade. We got out, yeah. It was 2684. And now we're waiting for a retracement because we want to first see what Bitcoin does. We took a chance, but it was a nice little 6% trade on that. So that was beautiful. I mean, Smiles, that was perfectly executed. I think well done there. That was amazing. So super excited about that trade playing off. So we'll see what happens once we can see a bit more clarity on Bitcoin, I think.
Tony says Bitcoin is going down. So
we'll have to see. At this point in time, we can only give our opinions on it. We need to see confirmation of price reaction on the levels. Other thing that I also want to just point out, so that we don't just focus too much on Bitcoin, although that is our lead indicator, is the fact that talking about institutions and like massive holdings and stuff. One thing that I picked up earlier this weekend, just doing my revisiting of obviously news and that, I saw that Uni is actually the most held token based on all the stats from like all the crypto whales and wallets and stuff, which is quite interesting. And looking at Uni, it's so undervalued. And if you want to obviously make money in this game, you want to follow where the institutions are buying, where the big money, the smart money is. Now, if that says anything, that says there's a lot of money in Uni, a lot of people investing in it for very good reason. So this is definitely a project that I would seriously consider to look at. It's fairly low in price if we talk about dollar value compared to some of the other projects, and it hasn't really performed just yet. So I'm expecting big things for that. Also, looking at Matic, they've obviously paired with Opera Mini, which has apparently a Web 3.0 ready browser, which is interesting because I haven't been on Opera Mini for quite some time because in the beginning it wasn't that great, but maybe that's improved, and I don't know. Stone, do you think we need to look at Opera Mini as a browsing option? Do you think it's viable? Have they sorted out some of the glitches? But because this might be a potential thing.
No, not really. I think this is more, this is just some of the retail institutions trying to get opportunities where they can. A lot of these, as you can see, a lot of these institutions are trying to take, if there's an opportunity for them to get exposure, as we know, hype drives a lot of crypto. If there's something that they can get into the news about, they'll take that chance. So that's why, it's very great. You need to be very careful what kind of news you sometimes look at. If Opera suddenly become a browser that overtakes something like Chrome or Mozilla, I highly doubt it. It still becomes a preference thing. So I don't think it'd suddenly change the underlying technology that's used. But that's some of the things that I think people are getting, misinformed when they look at the news. They would sometimes look at these titles and look at these articles, and it would sometimes give the impression that, this coin or Dogecoin is going to the moon now because the title said so. But you need to really take some time to understand what some of these projects do, what they're going to be decreasing.
You said that you were agreeing on that. Keep in mind that you were breaking away there a bit.
Sorry. Yeah.
No worries. No, look, I obviously follow Matic quite a bit. It's a passion project. I think I really enjoy trading it personally, but I just found it interesting. I'm not obviously saying you must jump into it, because I mean I don't even personally use Opera Mini, but I just found it interesting what they are busy with and looking at where institutions find interesting. Because what we need to remember is we might have $10 or $100 or $100,000, but that's nothing in the bigger picture. We are seeing big whales pumping, what did I say earlier, $300 million into Shiba Inu. And yet the profitability of Shiba Inu is decreased with 44%. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves is, why would a big institution simply blindly invest money in a project like Shiba Inu that's got no value for me?
Again, we're not sure if it's an institution. It could be money laundering for all we know. That's another big thing running into the ecosystem. It's what makes crypto. So until we for certainty see institutions actually announcing legally that they're investing contractually and monetary wise into these projects, it's big whales going in and out of cryptos for what knows reasons. And that's one of the bad things as well, is you would have someone like this whale pumping 300 million into Shiba. Suddenly everyone's thinking it's technology or news. They don't have time to look at the news. They want to get into the market and they go in, and then a week later that guy just pulls out the money and the coin drops again. So it's important that the people follow the technology and not the hype.
Yeah, that's very good advice, because it's 100% correct what you're saying there. I just think, to add to that, for me personally, if I had 300 million to put into a coin, for me that is a huge risk, because you're exposing quite a big portion of your portfolio, essentially, depending on how much money you have. But that's quite a lot of money to risk, to take that chance of sort of pumping and dumping that project. Because if other institutions get a smell of it, they will quickly, counter that and draw your liquidity down, making you to, obviously forcing you to or strong arm you into exiting the market at a loss. So this is things that we really need to consider. I mean, talking institution and global fund management and all of that, what's interesting is the stats that's been released now around, 2021, how much, there was 36% increase from institutions, $9.3 billion.
Buying into crypto, you can see they're massively scaling their portfolio. It's a good thing to see.
But the thing is, that's interesting. If you look at other financial markets, and I'm going to use the Forex market as a prime example, because we all know, well, not everyone knows, but the people that do trade Forex and stuff know how manipulated the market is. Even though it's regulated, there's certain rules and tricks of the trade, when it comes to trading that, and looking at how, Wall Street and all these big institutions have, started dominating, each and every financial market, with a 36% increase in 2022. And there was some reports out, I believe last year, that was stating that they aim to, by 2026, and this is not, conspiracy theories and hype-based to try and scare anyone. It's just interesting to see that there's stuff being put out where they are saying that, or there's projections out there that says that institutions will take over the crypto market by 2026. Now that's open for interpretation, in my opinion, because there's a lot that can happen. There's still a big dominance in sort of privately owned sort of crypto from sort of a consumer level, which hopefully we can obviously stay and hold on to. But, the point that I want to make, institutions and this financial market and the experts, they tend to use fear and greed in the market to push you out of your position so that they can buy out. Like I said earlier, institutions buy when we are selling, and they are selling when we are buying, because that creates liquidity for them to move their cash around. And because they've got so much cash, they need liquidity in the market to move the market into various directions. So they only need to sell a small portion in order to make the market tremble and be like, oh, we're going down, and then do that.
And it's interesting to see that, one of the key reasons, well, let's actually discuss that. One of the two key reasons why Bitcoin has been dumping is we've seen that the Federal Reserve, what they've announced in the December meeting, that, interest rates are most likely going to be pushed quite quicker than expected, which is very bad for valuation. So that's one of the reasons stocks have been going down, crypto has been going down. But the other side of it is we've also been seeing Kazakhstan, one of the, the second largest Bitcoin mining hub, where they've also been now tackled. Government's been going into full-on war. So mining's in Kazakhstan has been switched off, and we've seen it impact the crypto market. So on the one side, you're seeing that regulations and the Federal Reserve are kind of messing up on the one hand, and the people can see it. On the other hand, you're seeing that not only in France, but in Kazakhstan, there's general uprising happening against the government, which on the one side feels much more that crypto is the only way that this will be resolved. Whether I think institutions will have control over it, I think with uprisings happening, I don't think they'll have control for too long.
Well, it's going to be, I mean, that's, purely speculation at this point. But if we look at, from a product offering from institutional level, we've seen that the product offerings have increased from 24 products in 2020 to 37 investment products, launched in 2021 as an example, which offered them, a total offering of 127 products for the demand, because there's been so much hype around crypto, and a lot of investors are not necessarily trading the markets or investing themselves. They will typically, have fund managers, at, let's say your typical your JP Morgans and your other investment firms and your smaller prop firms, and that will manage the funds for them, and they're not interested in the nitty-gritties. They're just interested in getting consistent gains over longer periods of time, and that's where these asset managers and funds are obviously adapting and obviously increasing their holdings and their being able to generate these nice returns. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, I think like I said, one of the big things, that I mentioned on Friday is we're going to be seeing big changes happening. I think COVID's impacted a lot of people. People are making different life decisions. You can see that a lot of baby boomers are now deciding to early retire. They really want to just, settle down. So they're going to want to invest their money in places that's going to give them higher returns, because the kind of returns banks are offering right now is not going to give them the lifestyle they want to continue. So they're going to want to push it into something, and crypto right now is a very lucrative option because we've seen the spikes, we've seen the volatility, and people aren't really focusing on the risk right now. They want returns. Whether it means hodling, they're looking for returns right now on their investment. So it's going to, I'm very excited for this year. Good and bad, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what's going to come from this.
No, 100%. It will be interesting. Do you know when that SEC case with XRP is by any chance?
No, not really. I haven't looked into it yet.
I think it's actually in April now.
April, yeah. It is somewhere.
Smile, is there anything you want to say? You've been quite quiet while we've been babbling here.
Nothing. I was just, marking out some. I was just marking out some positions on some kids. So I was listening to everything you guys are saying. Just being so adapting to my own technical analysis.
No, correct. That's good. I think let's call it a night. Let's close this off. If you guys like our content, please like and subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends. And get people to obviously that can find value in our product to join and listen to our weekly webinars and get in touch with the Moonacade team, tonoit team, if you want to get more insight into the reports. And please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next Friday.